One lane in the overtaking stretch 4 kilometres north of Karua is blocked off to traffic. This morning a special RTA vehicle watered and tested the road surface for grip. Early yesterday morning, a semi-trailer jackknifed. As it spun around, it was clipped by another truck. This was followed by a tragic run of events. An hour later, a third truck skidded out of control, hitting Sandy Philp, a towing contractor who was standing at the side of the highway. The truck then smashed into 2 other vehicles. Philp suffered head injuries. His condition tonight is described as serious but stable. 3 days ago, the stretch of road was resurfaced, but the RTA says wet weather caused the seal to strip away. Today, the road had an obvious shiny covering. As the RTA vehicle ran tests, some traffic was allowed back onto the lane, and despite warnings from police to slow down, conditions were still tricky. The Police Accident Investigation Squad is assessing the situation. The lane will remain closed till workmen can repair the road. That could be a matter of days. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Codenamed Operation Black Knight, the 3-day exercise involved 200 RAF-based personnel, would-be soldiers, including clerks and technicians. Armed with military outfits and weapons, their aim was to defend the base's $1.5 billion worth of assets against the threat of an invasion.
At this particular time, it's very hard to tell, of course, with the situation in the world. However, we must maintain a posture that we are ready for whatever response may be required given the threat scenario at that particular time.
The invaders included regular army troops from Newcastle.
It was extremely successful. It was designed to train and develop the base personnel and also provide the enemy with the opportunity to diversify from what they normally do in their normal army roles.
So how safely can we sleep tonight?
We successfully defended the base from the incursions. You remain safe, secure and defendable in time of conflict.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. Counterfeit $100 notes were first sighted in Newcastle 7 weeks ago, following reports of their circulation on the north and central coasts. Managers from 3 entertainment venues alerted police when they discovered 6 fakes had passed over the counter during weekend trading. 2 weeks ago, another turned up at McDonald's in Broadmeadow. Police issued more warnings to proprietors to be on the lookout for notes with unusual colourings, watermarks and printing. Just after 8 o'clock this morning, police were given a tip-off.
We received information from a person in a motor vehicle with a mobile phone, and they told police certain things, and we were able to stop this vehicle up in Wallsend Road.
Around 10 fake $100 notes were discovered after a search of the vehicle. The driver was taken to Mayfield Station for further questioning. Police believe the recent sightings are connected, their inquiries leading them closer to cracking the counterfeit ring.
We're hoping that will be the case, and it should be known shortly.
Police say the 36-year-old Newcastle man has been charged with possessing counterfeit notes. He's been bailed to appear in Newcastle local court on April the 6th. Melinda Smith, NBN News. Millions of spectators have marvelled at the roulettes, flying high this weekend as one of the star attractions at the Indy Grand Prix. Touching base at Williamtown, the PC-9 aircraft stopped for refuelling this morning, only an hour and a half after leaving their Victorian base. All roulette pilots are RAAF instructors. Hours of training ensuring the aerobatic manoeuvres are executed with precision across the skies.
We split it into two sections, so we haven't sorted out our calendar for the second half of the year, but so far we've just come back from a display in Western Australia. The IndyCar's our major one for this part of the season. We've got some displays coming up in Melbourne and Wagga.
Despite the recent cyclonic conditions in Queensland, squadron leader Glenn Coy says their program will go ahead.
Well, we're doing two shows centred over the beach at main beach at Surfers Paradise, and another one over towards the track, which is in the heart of Surfers there. It's our usual aerobatic display, smoke, hopefully a bit of blue sky.
Right from the opening over, Botham and Richards were ready to go for their shots.
As Viv said the other day, quite rightly, he doesn't have a board to answer to anymore, and I really couldn't give a stuff about ours.
The Newcastle Workers Club was their 27th date in a national chat tour, giving Australians an inside look at international cricket. Audiences hand in written questions, which are supposedly given an honest answer. Boycott, McDermott and the Pakistani cricketers copped a mouthful. The combination of Lilly and Thompson was rated as one of the best ever. There were a million yarns. Backstage, Viv Richards, who lived in a flat with Botham for 8 years, admitted he had some incriminating photos of the English all-rounder dressed in drag. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
It's the second visit by the Narara dancers to the Inverell School. They performed for the Aboriginal students last year, but this time the whole school was given a lesson in Aboriginal dance, music and storytelling, and the students were encouraged to put those lessons into practice. The Narara dancers are on a state tour to highlight the Year of the Indigenous People, a journey of entertainment, but also a valuable tool to break down racial barriers.
A lot of the Aboriginal culture was lost over the years, and now that the schools have Aboriginal studies, it's getting known about the kids and they enjoy it, and I enjoy teaching it to them.
But the dancers want to go beyond the schools to spread their message to the community.
A lot of Australians anyway know about it and get to know that it used to be our country, and we just want to get back and promote a bit of our culture into the society.
In the United States, carjacking is a regular occurrence. Thieves threaten drivers at the wheel and force them from their car before driving off. It appears that method of car stealing is now being used in Lake Macquarie. Yesterday, police were called to Lake Macquarie Fair Shopping Centre. A 68-year-old Glendale woman told police she was driving from the car park when a man tapped on her window and indicated there was something wrong with the back of her car.
When she alighted from the vehicle to inspect the rear of the car, this person has pushed her from behind so that she landed on the ground and grazed her hands. He then entered her vehicle and drove away.
The lemon-coloured Camry was later found burnt out at Belmont South. Police are looking for a man in his 20s with dark hair. He was wearing a blue parka. And it appears it's not the first time he's attempted to hijack a car. Following an NBN report last night, police received a call from a woman this morning who said she too was approached at Charlestown Square, but she locked her car and drove off. Police are warning drivers to be on the lookout.
Advising people to, when they enter their cars, to lock the car so that they're safe within. It's almost the same these days as getting into your house. You must lock the house after you're inside.
Soon after the shop closed last night, a masked man armed with a shotgun entered through the back door of the King Street store. He demanded cash from the till, but the owner refused to hand over his takings and threatened the thief with a knife. The bandit then fired a shot into the wall, grabbed a bag which he believed contained money and fled. A witness saw him leave the scene in a Toyota Land Cruiser with a tray top.
He was wearing white shorts, a red flannelette shirt and a grey jacket. He was wearing a grey balaclava at the time. He's about 5'10" tall, 30 to 35 years of age and with a prominent nose.
The bag the bandit had seized was later found discarded. Instead of taking money, he'd mistakenly taken a bag of rags that the owner had been using to clean up with after an honest day's work. Although the bandit was foiled and the owner was not injured during the hold-up, police have warned future victims to do what the thief wants.
People should accede to the demands made upon them, certainly in circumstances where they're in such danger, where a firearm or a knife is produced. Our advice is never to argue with them, just to comply.
The police investigation is continuing.
As the saying goes, a week is a long time in politics. Last Monday it was announced Lake Macquarie's Mayor, Doug Carley, was unwell and had been granted sick leave.
The certificate says that he's to have a short time away from the council. We expect that this will be resolved within a month.
But today Alderman Carley was back in the top chair, saying he had shaken the effects of what he called post-viral fatigue syndrome.
My doctor examined me on Friday and told me that I was capable of returning to work.
What the circumstances were surrounding Alderman Carley's absence have been the subject of rumours, which the Mayor dismisses.
As far as rumour and innuendo is concerned, I'll never ever address those things. They were all totally untrue. If it's ever said publicly, they'll feel the consequence of a writ.
Alderman Carley says despite the illness, he had never thought of resigning, nor had anyone within his party, the ALP, prompted him to leave.
I've been given unequivocal support from the party. They're wishing me well.
The Mayor will be back in the chambers for a council meeting tonight. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
City Rail confirmed that it wants to introduce the new automatic ticketing system at 9 stations in the Hunter and Lake Macquarie. The system should be operational by May, putting workers out of jobs.
The final staffing numbers are still being determined, and that's up for negotiation with our unions.
With stations unmanned, passenger safety is now an issue.
Well, most of our stations are unstaffed now, especially after hours. We only have a few stations that are staffed. So we've put in telephones and we're putting in help points, and we're also introducing closed-circuit television and long-line PA systems. So there'll be all the security measures there that people need.
Stations on the North Coast and inland will not be affected by the proposed changes to the sale of tickets. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
This parcel of land off South Street, Medowie looks peaceful, but in the scrub there's a storm brewing between developer Tom Ford and Port Stephens Shire Council. Mr Ford intends to subdivide the land into 150 half-hectare lots and has cleared the underbrush from 4 hectares. The council claims 10 hectares have been cleared, the development application hasn't been approved, and the slashing of the scrub contravenes a number of local and state regulations. Mr Ford says he's broken no rules and has simply removed a fire hazard.
The fire chief has said that a fire coming straight across that would go 30 foot in the air, would hit this particular area, and just a bit further over you'll see the houses in Boyd Boulevard. It would hit that at about 100 miles an hour.
The council says it has held a series of meetings with Mr Ford to explain the regulations, but Shire President John Bartlett says the developer has proceeded with the underscrubbing in an area identified as a koala's habitat. Mr Ford concedes the fauna impact statement identifies one koala, but doesn't believe that should jeopardise a development crucial to Medowie's future.
If that happens, Medowie won't get the population that they require for us to get a high school, to get a swimming pool, to get a bus service, to anything that makes this town into a viable town, a nice place for people to live. That'll be destroyed.
Mr Ford and the council will meet again later this week to try and clear a path to a settlement. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Although pollution in the Hunter region is perceived to be significant, almost half of those surveyed felt it didn't affect their lives.
Maybe pollution doesn't hurt them personally, it doesn't stop them from breathing, it doesn't stop them from doing things they want to do.
The Hunter Valley Research Foundation has been running phone surveys since December 1990, checking with 300 people at a time what they think of pollution-related issues. In a close vote, most put jobs and the economy before the environment.
The one that I've got the mortgages and the families to support may favour economy and the fact that they need a job to pay the bills.
Those surveyed in Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, Maitland, Cessnock and Port Stephens all rated the steel industry as one of the main causes of pollution. The Lake and Port Stephens also highlighting sewage problems. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
In the Hunter, the unexpected decision will force around 100 visiting medical officers to consider their next move, possibly including walking out of the public hospital system. Hospitals most affected will be the John Hunter, the Mater, Belmont and Cessnock, waiting lists predicted to swell and specialist services stretched to the limit.
I think there will be certain groups, particularly the anaesthetists and the surgeons, who will act critically. You've only got to lose another 1 or 2 anaesthetists and the service will not be able to provide adequate elective or emergency services in this region.
President of the Hunter Medical Association, Chris Howe, says the 20% pay cut comes as a hard blow after 2 years and $3 million to push their case for an increase. He says the current rate hasn't changed for the past 7 years, and despite claims that at $120 an hour, specialists are already overpaid, Dr Howe contends they're losing money.
Many surgical practices are employing 3 or 4 people. Cost $1,000 a day just to open the door of a practice. Now, when you put that up against what the payment would be in a public hospital, they just don't add up.
If VMOs do leave the public hospital system, Dr Howe agrees patients will bear the brunt of the dispute.
Unfortunately, it always is patients who suffer. I mean, they are always the pawns in any conflict, and that's the sad thing about it.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Conditions were small but clean for the start of day 2, and Lennox Head's Craig Holly was the early standout. Jamie Lambert began a good day for the Newcastle contingent when he snared a last-minute ride and secured a place in round 3. Chad Edser continued the trend in a wave-starved heat that saw Byron Bay's Brendan Margison eliminated in frustrating circumstances. The drama surrounding Newcastle's Nick Wood continued today when he was offered the chance to take the place of an injured American surfer in a round 2 heat. For reasons known only to himself, Wood decided not to take advantage of the opportunity. But Wood wasn't the only big name not to show up. Former world champ Martin Potter and Cronulla superstar Mark Occhilupo were scheduled to contest the final heat of the day. Both failed to appear, giving Avoca's Ross Clark-Jones and Narrabene's Nathan Webster a free ride. Both Potter and Occhilupo may be fined by the ASP. An even bigger blow for contest organisers was the news that world champion Kelly Slater had missed a connecting flight and wouldn't be in the country before Saturday.
We've been as cooperative as we can, but we can't hold over the heat that he would be in. So I guess the bottom line is that Kelly's out of the event also. Of those who did hit the water, Newcastle's Dave MacArthur showed dynamic form to clinch a win over clubmate Matt Hoy.
I've been a contest for a while, and Roy Lee from Pacific Dreams is the major sponsor, so if I'm going to pull one out, it's got to be this one, so psychic.
Highest scorer of the day was Avoca's explosive Shane Powell, while local Luke Egan could barely find a wave to himself as conditions continued to deteriorate. Bruce McKenzie, NBN News.
Robert Bernasconi and Barry Murdoch have gone to the ends of the earth to get the signatures of famous people. Pope John Paul II, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf, Luciano Pavarotti, Yasser Arafat and a cast of hundreds were only too willing to put pen to paper for a good cause. All but one, the Queen Mother, wouldn't come to the party.
Probably one of our biggest disappointments has been the refusal of our royal family. Great disappointment to us.
Probably the greatest effort was from former Olympic champion Betty Cuthbert, who signed her name despite incredible pain from multiple sclerosis. Next door to the library, one of Australia's most acclaimed artists, Bea Maddock, was showing off her signature. 3 decades of paintings, prints and photos. Her latest work, this panorama of Antarctica, which she could only paint from a boat as she broke her leg trying to get off the vessel. Her exhibition will run until May the 9th before it's showcased at the New South Wales Art Gallery.
The body of the woman was found this afternoon under the railway bridge by a man who'd brought his daughter to the river to go fishing. Police were soon on the scene and had the area cordoned off. All sports activities on the nearby oval were cancelled while police searched the area.
Police and SES doing a routine search for any sort of weapons, clothing or something that's out of place.
Police are reluctant to release any details about the woman, but earlier today a woman of the same age was reported missing to Singleton Police after she failed to show up for work at a local hotel. The woman's brother-in-law identified the body this afternoon. She's believed to be aged 49 and lived in Ryan Street in Singleton. Her name has not yet been released. It's not known how the woman died, but police forensic experts are still on the scene. Are there any suspicious circumstances?
Yes, we must say that there are suspicious circumstances.
Only 2 minutes into the game and prop Paul Harrigan was coming back off. The cornea in his right eye was scratched as he bent down to tackle the South's halfback.
In 10 he's a damn good shot. I think, yeah, it's just a mistake, just one of those things that happen in football.
Today the eye was still closed and looking sore, but doctors cleared him of any permanent damage.
I have no double vision, I have no problem with seeing things, it's just the pain of it now, so, and as far as I'm concerned that'll be right in 7 days. We've got till Sunday, so I should be fine.
Not long after Harrigan was back in the stands, Matthew Rodwell also got a poke in the eye.
I thought the finger went in quite deep, and but unfortunately for me it doesn't appear too serious.
Rodwell has a small scratch on his eyeball and has been told to rest up.
Pretty painful last night, but this morning it seems to clear up all right. While it's still a bit blurry and I've got a bit of a headache, things should be right for the weekend.
Besides the injuries, the Knights' ranks could have been depleted even further. Jamie Ainscough was lucky to miss a trip to the judiciary for a loose arm. And Captain Michael Hagan was also lucky not to become a victim of the league's new head-high policy. One Knight who never looked in trouble was winger Robbie O'Davis. Every time the ball was kicked downfield, he was onto it. His persistence and speed finally paid off with a try. When O'Davis wasn't on the attack, he was reading the play beautifully. O'Davis's good form is also believed to be attracting the interest of State of Origin selectors.
The strike affected all BHP's major steel plants, Newcastle and Port Kembla in New South Wales, Whyalla in South Australia and Western Port in Victoria. Only a skeleton staff was on duty at BHP's Rod and Bar Products division to keep essential processes ticking over. The lost production cost the company more than $2 million in Newcastle alone. But the major concern for BHP is the effect the stoppage will have on its standing in the international steel market.
Our reputation is important to us to be able to deliver. Whether international or domestic, any of our customers are important, and this strike will damage that reputation.
The Federation of Industrial, Manufacturing and Engineering Employees is seeking 2 rises of 4% over 2 years, plus the integration of the present productivity bonus scheme into base pay rates.
Productivity at the steelworks has gone up some 22%, and the members over there have reached the 501 tonnes per person, and we were looking for that productivity payment that fluctuates now between 0 and 5.5% to be fixed and put into our hourly rate.
Union delegates met in Sydney today, deciding to hold more talks with BHP on Wednesday. The union says it's confident of making progress then and avoiding further industrial action. The workers will be back on the job from the first shift tomorrow. Both sides say there'll be no long-term ramifications for industrial relations.
It's a hiccup, it's disappointing. We've got to sit down and work out why it happened this way. But at this stage, I wouldn't say it's going to herald any great deterioration in our relationship.
According to the opposition, the subjects with the longest waiting lists include tourism, computing, business and management and English as a second language. Minister for Education Virginia Chadwick has confirmed around 39,000 students who had shown interest will miss out. Figures from the opposition show nearly 3,000 are affected in the Hunter and Central Coast and 2,200 in the North Coast and New England regions. But the government says it has increased its TAFE budget by 10% to make an additional 30,000 places. Mrs Chadwick says TAFE has a record 450,000 students this year. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Good.
Another major national art award today, the Sulman Prize for the best subject painting or mural design. Newcastle artist and university lecturer John Montefiore has won with his work of 20 years, the Life series. It's a mammoth painting with 15 panels stretching 18 metres. The painting is a story of life and death using Christian and Eastern symbolism. Montefiore will receive $5,000 for the award. Day 7 of the 9-day ride from Port Macquarie to Sydney started in Maitland with near-perfect conditions. The 1,500 riders going through their regular checks and stretching exercises before hitting the road, heading off on the long haul to Arimba, 98 kilometres away. But around midday on the Huey Road near Wyong, a cyclist in his late 40s suddenly fell from his bike. A St John ambulance team travelling on the ride and local ambulances were soon on the scene. It's believed the cyclist suffered a heart attack. But despite these efforts, the man was declared dead on arrival at Wyong Hospital. His name has not been released. Organisers of the ride have been stunned by the tragedy, but say the cyclist will continue the trip, arriving at Sydney's Darling Harbour on Sunday. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Despite leading his side to victory last year and retiring, Neil Baker hasn't given up his drive and zest to keep fit. However, after guiding his team through undefeated last year, the pressure is on for a repeat performance.
And I think the guys realise that after what happened last year, everyone in Newcastle in the rugby league competition will be out to beat them. So it's up to us to go out there and hold the nerves for the first 20 minutes and go from there.
West will meet Lakes at Carl Oval on Sunday. All the clubs have had major rebuilding programs through the off-season, and that could lead to the emergence of a dark horse.
I think Waratah could quite easily spring a few surprises. I think that Souths started off very well in the pre-season final last week, but I think all the clubs have got a good chance, but I do like a bit of Waratah. I think they might come good.
All the games are on Sunday, with first grade getting underway at 3 o'clock. Darren Curtis, NBN News.